Hello again, and welcome to episode number 24 of Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast. Episode 24, Kiefer Sutherland's favourite number, right?
Yes, correct, dude. Who fucking would have thought we'd have made it to 24, bro? Like,
exactly.
Damn.
I am your co-host, JB, and with me, he's the man who's known as possibly the English answer to Jim Cornette. It's Chris Dredd.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'll take that moniker. Fuck that. I won't be going to Wendy's anytime soon, but fuck, I'll take that.
How are you, man?
Yes,
You're right.
dude. I'm all right, mate. How are you? It's been a tough week again this week, isn't it? It's been a slog.
It's been a tough week. I was just saying to Chris before we started, I've literally finished work, had a quick change and sort out, and here we are. It's Sunday night. It's just before Survivor Series, so we're not going to say too much about it because, you know, we're not clairvoyant. We don't know what's going to happen. But
no.
Yeah, we're here. We're back. Thank you to everyone and anyone all our new subscribers. There's quite a few.
Howdy. We have, in the last, it's been working. Touch the bell, and we're going to say it again. We in the last week we've gained so many subscribers, and it's amazing. Every time we get a new subscriber, we jizz a little bit, let alone however many we've got this week. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic. So obviously last week, us telling people to touch our bell has obviously worked. So please, guys, it is free. Subscribe to us. Like we said before, we don't want to take your money. We've got no Patreon. We don't ask for no donations, or we've got no paid for content, but we do want YouTube's advertising revenue. We do want that money. Fuck YouTube. We want their money. We don't want your lovely guys' money. So please touch our bells, subscribe, get us up to that magical number, and then we will be even happier than we are now.
The preceding announcement where, Chris just said, fuck you, YouTube, was brought to you by Chris Dredd.
It's like every time I mention Sable, it's like he's got to say his little disclaimer to Brock, like, but it's fine.
I'm knocking at my door. Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. Man, it's all good, man.
Yeah.
Shit. It's all good. It's all good.
We thank everyone that listened in to last week's show, King of the Ring 94. If you haven't seen it already, it's a very Owen Hart-centric episode. I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of other people did as well. They've commented, they've liked it, they've, told us, they've messaged us, and it was good. It was great fun. Today's episode, WCW Starrcade 1993, is very different. It's definitely not the King of the Ring.
It's we're just saying, like, before we come on live, like, it's such a strange show for me. It's a weird one, man. It's like, it's the 10th anniversary of Starrcade, which is obviously a huge event, but it's a very, very weird pay-per-view. It's got some very strange moments. It's like a little bit of a dream world because you've got this kind of WWF, WCW kind of crossover, a few faces that you've seen previously in WWF that are now in WCW. Remember, this is 1993.
Yeah.
So, we've got a few people like Jesse Ventura. We've got people like Mean Gene who have just literally jumped ship. So, yeah, man, it's a really weird pay-per-view, but we're here for all your 90s pay-per-view needs. It is Chris Dredd, JB, and this is Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops, episode 24. But we got some news, bro, right? We're going to cover a bit of, as always.
As always, we have some news. This part of our show is brought to you by nobody because we don't have any sponsors.
That's right.
Our news today is like I said, we haven't, Survivor Series hasn't happened yet. This show will likely go out after Survivor Series, but it hasn't happened, so we can only take guesses at what we're gonna see on that show. It is Undertaker's. Is there another Boneyard match in his future, though?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. Like I've seen a few people moaning because the Undertaker's been doing like a media tour. It seems he's been doing a lot of interviews, but kind of not really as Undertaker, but as Mark Calloway. He's been really out of character. Like, you know, a British reference for our British viewers. He was on Good Morning Britain the other day. It was fucking weird, man. You've got like
who was asking him the questions? Was it Piers?
No, it was the entertainment guy, the fucking.
Okay.
But yeah, it would have been cool to have Piers Morgan like interviewing him, but it was just weird, like, you know, watching the Undertaker on Good Morning Britain. But I've heard loads of people like. I hate to say smart marks. I've had loads of them moaning, saying, "Oh, this is diminishing to the Undertaker's legacy, seeing him doing all these interviews kind of out of character, and it's fucking, oh, it's really, really bad. Like, you know, what's he doing kind of thing." And it's like, I'm speechless, mate. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm listening to Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker on the Broken Skull sessions. It's a 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I love hearing these stories, man. Like, you know, the guy's been living a gimmick for 30 years. Yeah. 30 years. Allow him to breathe. Do you know what I mean? Like, allow it, man. Is he going to have another match in the future? Yes. Probably yes.
I think it's more likely to be something like a boneyard match that, you know, you can take a few shortcuts, you know, cinematic stuff, you can have breaks and all that. I think it works. You know, the one with AJ was excellent, spectacular. So why not try another one?
Why not, bro? Like, he's still a brand. He can still draw. He can, you know, fucking don't. I'm gonna start going off in a rant already. But
don't worry.
You know, he can draw, man. He's the Undertaker.
Next up, this is a quick one. 22nd of November 2010. Now, this is 10 years ago to the day. Miz cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase to win the WWE title. It is the 22nd of November 2020. Long-term booking? 10 years since. Is he going to win it again tonight?
Fucking who knows, man. Yeah. As they say in wrestling, never say never. You know what I mean?
There is a way to do it. You know, you have Roman beat the hell out of Drew after the match, leave Drew laying, Miz comes in, cashes in, done.
That's right.
I think you've got one next, Chris.
What's that?
Bit of news to talk about, yeah.
What was we talking about? What was it going to be? I've got a few things that I was talking about.
A couple of stories from the week. In particular, there was the alleged bullying story.
Yeah,
that went online.
Yes. It's a weird one. This story, man.
Purely because we don't want to get into trouble. We're gonna gloss. I think it just makes sense.
Gloss.
You know, there was a bullying story regarding a production company that works with AEW. You know, slightly implicating Cody, slightly. You know, saying, you know, a few things like the guy that Cody didn't like the guy, and you know, it's all allegations. The reaction to it, on the other hand, is a bit strange, but so surprising.
Yeah, but this, like you're saying, it's more the reaction to it than the story itself. Now, no matter what this guy, you know, he's had a few dodgy tweets and that people have said that, you know, DDP chucked him out the accountability crib for fucking with Jake or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But it's more like the initial dismissal of any kind of bad words that could ever be said about AEW. Again, it's like, without any kind of investigation or anything, just straight away, nah, fuck that, man. It couldn't have happened. Look at this guy. He's a prick.
My problem with it was about, you know, the story was about, you know, bullying to a point. The first thing these people did when they were trying to defend, you know, their leaders was start bullying the guy, talking about how, you know, his weight and his beard and stuff like that. That's not cool. Don't insult the guy. Like, just you either believe it or you don't. But
dude,
don't start that.
That's the thing. It's this whole fucking, and let's not forget as well, we've spoken about this. Kylie Ray had a pretty bad experience with some AEW fans in general, basically mocking her body shape and stuff like that. I mean, we've had the conversation privately about certain things, and we, you know, TNA fans were never really this toxic towards.
We mentioned this, like TNA fans in particular. This is something we just, you know, we were just riffing really, like in conversation. I've been on social media for a long time, and I've never seen TNA fans get this crazy, this defensive. Yeah,
they talk about, you know, cults, man, but the cult of AEW is increasingly worrying because, I mean, we've spoken about how we wanted AEW to be great. We really wanted it to do well. But the problem is AEW is trying too much to pop the boys and pop the marks, and it's only appealing to like a small demographic of wrestling fans. Like, for example, I'm a figure collector. You can see behind me, I collect figures. Jordan is a figure collector. He's got a fucking huge collection. But the problem is, right, AEW, the only people that are buying the AEW figures are grown men. There ain't no kids buying them figures.
I'm sure there's kids that have got them, you know.
I don't think so, bro.
AEW is targeted towards a slightly older demographic.
It is.
They crow about it every time they win a few points in the ratings over it.
That's right. But, you know, I mean, you can only go so far with such a narrow demographic. And I know they're trying to be so hip and cool. They've got a lot of swearing and this, that, and the other, but they're only appealing to a very small audience. In order to survive long term, they have got to diversify the people that are watching it. So very quickly, do you remember when, I think maybe last week or the week before, I was talking about AEW and how the problem with their booking is I think they're letting the boys do too much without any kind of, they're letting the wrestlers have too much creative control. Do you remember me saying that? I think it was last week.
We touched on it, yeah.
Talking about Moxley and the MJF match. And basically he's just, you know, they nearly turned MJF, their hottest heel in the company. They almost gave him a face turn during the match because the booking of the match was so bad, okay? This is the problem. This is straight from the horse's mouth. This is from the fucking golden boy messiah, Jon Moxley, okay? Straight from his mouth. This is a quote as well, and I quote, "Everybody can just be whoever they want to be, do whatever they want to do, whatever different style or presentation or whatever it is with Darby Allin or Orange Cassidy or Lucha Brothers or me or whoever. There's not like oh, well, they like this. You don't have to go into the office and pitch, can I do this thing I want to do? You can pretty much do whatever you want. It's not like we're just running around doing whatever we want, but kind of everybody is feeling totally free. I was describing it earlier. It's almost like Dynamite. It's almost like one giant jam band session." End quote. Now, do you remember what happened to a specific company when you let wrestlers decide ultimately everything that's going on inside the ring? We know what happened. It went down the shitter, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's not a great quote. That's really not helpful.
It's not, bro. You've got to have a balance, okay? People take the piss out of WWE for having X amount of writers and having all this creative team and everything like that. Fine. That system may be broken. It might not work well. You've got to find a balance between the boys having an input in what's going on in their matches, but ultimately someone's got to have control and say, right, no, this is what is happening. You know, this is what, you know, we need to do during the match. You know, this is what, you know.
I'd put it this way. They need a boss, not a friend.
100%, bro. But again, we've got to agree with Corny to the point where Tony Khan is just in a little circle jerk. Like, basically, he's excited that he's around all these wrestlers and he's just kind of loving it. But my man is not a booker. Who's booking this, man? Who's ultimately in control? Kevin Sullivan's involved, I believe.
No, stop it.
I heard that somewhere. That Kevin Sullivan's involved in video packages and stuff.
Oh dear.
Booker man, it's but this is the thing. I read that quote, okay, and it was I'll give them a shout out. They don't need a shout out. They've got a massive following. But WrestleMania, people know who WrestleMania is, right? And it was a WrestleMania video, and it was something like 10 things that AEW lets their wrestlers do that WWE doesn't, or something like that, yeah? And that was the quote that Moxley said there. But like you said, that is not a good thing. You obviously, the boys need some kind of input, but that quote basically says they're allowed to do whatever they want in their matches. It's like no one's saying, right, this is the path. You can do kind of bits and bobs either side of the path, but ultimately this is A, this is B, and this is C. Like, this is where we're going. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And this is why I think it's disappointing with what's going on in AEW. And it's like we shit on it every week, but every week we're just seeing more stuff, that is coming out. We don't know what's going on with this video package guy, but it's just allowed me to have another look into AEW and watch a few more bits and bobs about what's going on, and ultimately find out a little bit more information. And that more information is exactly what I said last week, that the lunatics are running the asylum. There's no one really in control. The boys are just doing whatever they want, and that's why sometimes the matches are fucking booked like shit. Because everyone's trying to get over.
Super kick, please.
Yeah, well, everyone's just trying to get themselves over. It's like, like Moxley, a great example in that match with MJF and Moxley. If anything, MJF, it should have been the other way around. Instead of Moxley just wanting to act like a big tough guy and beating the fuck out of MJF the whole match, it should have been the opposite way around. MJF and Wardlow should have been cheating behind the referee's back, beating the crap out of him, really cheating, battering him, and then the comeback should have been from Moxley, because that will really show how tough he is. But they did it the other way around because Moxley's trying to act like this big tough guy. It's the psychology's wrong, the booking's wrong, and it's because there's no one in charge. Sorry, Khan. Your football team's going down the shitter. Don't let your wrestling get like, they're not your friends, they're your employees, fam.
Someone did make a point. The Premier League team, Fulham, not doing so great. Lost again today. The NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're 1-8 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Like, their record's poor. They're probably going to lose again tonight. I think they're playing right now. We'll move on.
Like I say, we don't do this because we like it. We are. It's just our opinion.
Just how we see it. Yeah. We're not just here to book someone's show. We'll never do it.
No, we're not going to book no one's show. We're not that fucking arrogant to do it. But anyway, we'll move on from AEW. There was another story about WWE though. You hear about this as well?
WWE settled out of court with was it a pension fund?
It was basically they valued their certain amount of stock, for they overvalued it, and they sold like $390 million or $280 million in between. That's like $300 million worth of stock.
Yeah.
And they overvalued it, and they settled out of court for like $39 million. But basically, the insurance has paid for that.
Yeah. So they've got away with one, really.
Well, yeah.
Insurance is paying for it, and it's technically they're not admitting any guilt or anything, because it's a voluntary settlement, all that stuff. So, I mean, on paper they're trying to avoid guilt. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, really?
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that, would they?
No.
Because see, look, we shit on WWE too, man. Don't fucking get it twisted, man. Where there's blame, there's a claim, as they say. We fucking lay it down. We don't give a shit.
And I think that's it for news, isn't it?
But also there is a documentary going on Netflix. I think it's one of the most highest paid documentaries coming out, and it's going to be following. It's like a WWE documentary following Vince McMahon around.
Oh boy.
So oh boy. It won't be Wrestling with Shadows, but it will probably be like a fluff piece, because I think
I get that feeling it's going to be more fluff than reality.
Yeah, no, of course.
Could be a real shame.
Yeah.
briefly moving on to, as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see the poster of the show that we're covering today, which is Starrcade 93. Now, this is not our main event. This was meant to be our main event, but obviously things got changed. Sid, before the main event took place, was fired by WCW. This is because in Blackburn, of all places in the UK, you know, I'll shout out Blackburn. Why not?
Shout out Blackburn Rovers, man, all day long.
This is where it happened. Sid got into a fight with Double A, Arn Anderson, where both guys end up with stab wounds due to scissors being used. As far as, you know, a few people have said in their shoot interviews and stuff, from what I could surmise, it was that Sid was saying that Flair needed to step aside. Everyone had been drinking. Everyone was, you know, out of sorts. They're all like they'd been traveling for, you know, a good 10 to 12 hours. Everyone's, you know, off their nut at this point.
So what happens when you go to Blackburn? People get stabbed.
Yeah. Arn and Sid got into an argument. They went back to their rooms. Sid decided to break off a chair leg and was going to go and hit him over the head with it. Arn picked up scissors in defense, and both guys got hold of the scissors and had puncture wounds. No charges were ever filed. Neither man wanted to press charges. I guess they just wanted to get back, you know, home. And, you know, they have since then settled their differences. They are friendly towards each other. In this case, though, Sid would be fired and Arn would be suspended.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Someone, I think Arn might have had someone looking out for him there in the office.
I would think so. I think, definitely he's got a couple of pals in the office there.
Yeah. So it isn't Sid in our main event. Cards subject to change, I guess.
But that is weird. But who's the man that will rule the world? I fucking love that little tagline, because obviously Vader was giving it who's the man, and Sid was always like, man, you know, he rules the world. It was a great tagline. This is a match made in heaven. This was
meant to be Sid's, you know, coronation. It was meant to be Sid's big night. And
yeah,
from what I have read, they did film stuff, you know, with Sid with the title. You know, because WCW would film, you know, shows in blocks and stuff, and this is what happened. So yeah, no Sid in our main event, which is a shame because we all love Sid. There's no Arn Anderson on the show either. I don't know whether he had a spot on the show anyway. And there is another one who will not be on the show, but we'll get to that when we hit that point.
That's right.
Because we are at the Independence Arena in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, Charlotte is Ric Flair's adopted home. Yeah. I guess I don't think he was born there. And the same with Ricky Steamboat. He lived there as well.
That's right. It used to be the Charlotte Coliseum. They used to call it the Charlotte Coliseum because the Hornets used to play there until they built another place.
So 8,200 in attendance. Apparently only 7,000 paid. 115,000 pay-per-view buyers. That's not big.
Nah.
I mean, it's still bigger than... Yeah.
Stop it.
Sorry.
Come on.
It is the 10th anniversary of Starrcade. It is the 11th Starrcade, so they've done it properly. They haven't just, you know, said, oh, it's 25, so it's the 25th anniversary. That's not how it works.
No.
We have a Ric Flair and Vader promo to start, you know, with pictures of Flair as a little boy and stuff like that. You know, fairly decent promo to get us started. But Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura are our commentators. And straight away, we get a cheap pop from Jesse.
Great. And to be honest, I won't lie to you, I enjoy this pairing. I do enjoy...
Not bad, is it?
No, it's all right, man. Tony Schiavone and Jesse the Body Ventura, as he calls him, which he probably said that he shouldn't have because it might have been copyrighted or whatever. But he says, no, you are Jesse the Body Ventura. I was good. I enjoyed this pairing. It was pretty good during the night.
yeah, Jesse would be gone though, because once it was, it let slip that Hogan was coming, Jesse was on his way out.
Yep. It's there's a whole. I mean, Jesse Ventura. Let's just go in a little bit on Jesse Ventura, because he's one of my favorite wrestling people of all time. He really is.
Yeah.
He is someone who he really could talk. He knew what he had to do in the business. He knew what he had to do to get the movies. The Running Man is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Jesse was very, very smart. He's very smart. And there's a lot of shoot interviews and a lot of interviews of him talking about the situation where he basically, for a certain WrestleMania, Vince had to pay him quite a bit of money to get him on there, because one of the cable companies or the TV companies said, look, when they found out Jesse wasn't on there for whatever reason, they said, look, we paid to view this because we paid to air this because we were aware that Jesse Ventura was on the bill, and now you're telling me he's not going to be a part of it. So then, cap in hand, they had to go to Jesse, and then he was able to get quite an elevated fee. So, the guy knew what he was doing. And like I say, I mean, him and Hogan obviously weren't friends, were they? Jesse Ventura and the Hulkster.
I mean, Jesse always blamed Hogan for snitching about unionizing.
Well, yeah. I mean, and to be fair, he was probably right. Jesse Ventura's had a very, very crazy life as well. I mean, he's got I think he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple of times. Really worth a listen. He was a Navy SEAL. He had run-ins with the American Sniper, the guy that was, he's a really colourful character. But like I say, we'll get back to this. The life of Jesse Ventura was mental. He's a great character. Listen to any of his interviews that he's got online. He's got the conspiracy show that he does as well, which is fucking incredible. Yeah, man. He's brilliant. I love Jesse Ventura, but as wrestling goes, he's one of these characters that I just love. I love hearing him. He excites me. So when I hear Jesse Ventura, it's all good in the hood.
Vader and Harley arrive. They show them arriving at around 2 p.m. Vader works out as well. I mean, Vader's a big guy, right? He's
wearing his and if anybody knows about this, he's wearing his Ribera Steakhouse jacket when he turns up, and that is basically a nod to anybody who knows about the Ribera Steakhouse in Japan and how you get presented with a jacket when you're basically the shit.
When you're wrestling.
When you're the man in Japan, you get a Ribera Steakhouse jacket.
Ric Flair says bye to his family because we have cameras in the Flair home with Mean Gene, and they leave. They leave for the arena in a limo, of course. He tells Gene that he's worried, but he's got to prove that he's the man.
Because Rick's career's on the line.
Yes.
And I mean, this is a weird time because this is 1993, December. In September of 1993, WCW would leave the Wrestling Alliance, the NWA. So, and as we were talking before this, there was some changes in backroom staff. There was changes in management. There was big things going on behind the scenes at this time.
Yeah.
And Ric Flair had been... I was trying to work out yesterday when he finished his run in WWF. And I think
he finished his run in January 93.
It was January. So it was beginning of 1993. So now we are a year on nearly from that.
Yeah.
So
I think he had a no compete clause as well. So he couldn't.
He did. Yeah.
Couldn't wrestle for a little while. But
he was still on TV. He was still doing a few bits and
Flair
bobs.
For the gold segments, yeah.
Flair for the gold, yeah, that's right. So yeah, there was still a few bits in that, but there was a non-compete clause and this is like kind of, it's a weird one because he's been written in. Obviously, we were supposed to have Sid Vicious, aka Sid Justice, aka Psycho Sid. but we've ended up with Vader versus Ric Flair. And you know, this is in Rick's house, man. This is Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Mean Gene going to his house. You're seeing the kids. You're seeing David Flair. You're seeing a young Charlotte. You know, you see, it's crazy to see. Like, you know, there's a future WWE Women's Champion just there. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. This is 1993. So. It's all being played up, very emotional, and like I say, this is a weird time because Flair had come just a year from WWF. He's back in WCW. We've got Jesse Ventura, who was WWF through and through. Now he's in WCW. We've got Mean Gene Okerlund, who was in WWF for many years. Now he's in WCW.
I mean, let's be honest. If we're going to talk about weird, we're going to have to get to our first match.
100%, baby.
I mean, in a dark match before the show, we will quickly just say Terry Taylor beat the Equalizer. Who cares?
They mentioned that later on in the show.
Boy.
Yeah, the Rooster, man. Or the computerized man of the 90s.
Or as people have called in shoot interviews, the Snitch.
Oh shit, son. Shit. I remember on one show we covered it when it was him versus Dustin Rhodes, and he was the computerized man of the 90s, and he kept running out of the ring and consulting a computer about what to do.
I mean, there's so many things wrong with that we don't know where to start. But yeah, our first match tonight, Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Alexander Bagwell. That is a mouthful. With their manager, of the year, Teddy Long, or the Godfather Teddy Long, as they were calling him. Right. Taking on Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma, and they were managed by the Assassin. It's just so it is weird.
It's weird, dude. I mean, Jody Hamilton, the Assassin, was part of the Assassins. He's, you know, pretty well-known wrestler, you know, from back then, you know. But it's really weird. I mean, because Marcus Alexander Bagwell, this is pre-buff, right? This is pre.
Very much so. I mean, there's massive chance of Paula because that's what they're shouting at Paul Orndorff at every show.
Yeah.
Orndorff is probably the most famous case of getting an injury and not getting it seen to and not getting fixed, because he has got one arm significantly smaller than the other, and it's really starting to tell. Like, you can see one of his arms is just not there.
Yeah.
Like, he's got like big muscles on one side, and on his other arm is just
He's half of the ICO Pro winner this week because of his one arm. I think he was pretty ripped, man. For me, it was a pretty tough call this week. How about you?
Well, with no Steiner and no Luger,
we're fucked.
I mean, it's
anybody's.
This is the most competitive ICO Pro award for a long time.
That's right. With no Luger or Steiner, it's in anybody's hands, you know? It's like that year when Leicester won the Premier League.
This match, for me, doesn't get going. I mean, I think you said you liked it, but I wasn't too sure about it.
I wanted more. You've got these two high flyers in Too Cold Scorpio, and I'm going to call him Buff because he's got that stuff.
Oh,
and he was,
stuff, of course, yes.
You know, he was a fresh-faced Marcus Bagwell. Too Cold Scorpio flying all over the place, doing the old kind of flip kicks and stuff. You know, Paul Roma and Orndorff, pretty wonderful. They were your ultimate heel team. I mean, it should have been a really good opening match. And like you said, it should have gone longer. It should have been more to it.
Yeah.
It was disappointing a little bit, really.
Yeah, for me, it just wasn't enough. I mean, it was a bit of a slow burn as well. They were working over the arm and stuff like Too Cold and Buff or Marcus were working over the arms of both guys. They do start to get their heat eventually, and like even the hot tag just didn't fire off. I mean, this was a pretty hot crowd as well, which makes it worse for me. Just when we think that, just as it's starting to get going, we think things are going to take off. The Assassin puts something in his mask.
Yeah.
And he
looks like a Viscount. He put, you know, them little chocolate biscuits.
Yeah.
Like or a Jaffa cake. It's like
and yeah, he headbutts Too Cold.
Yeah.
And Too Cold's out of it, and that's it. Orndorff gets the pin. And it just felt like it could have been. There should have been more.
It should have been a bit more. It was, you know, they could have made a bit more of it. It was a pretty poor opening match, but you know, it doesn't really. I like the look of Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Bagwell. You know, pretty good.
They were a good team. They had previously held the tag team titles for a day.
Yeah.
Like a month before, at like Halloween Havoc, they lost it back to the Nasty Boys.
Paul Roma don't get enough credit as being a good heel as well, because they're doing the arm wringer and they're working on his arm. It's like, he's hurting my arm. He's hurting. Like, it was pretty good, pretty funny.
Mean Gene is in the limo. Ric Flair. Like, this segment goes on way too long.
Yeah.
Flair in the laugh out loud moment of the night. Ric Flair says his career could be over. It's 93. It's not over.
It's crazy, and he's like, "Who's gonna woo?" He's like, who's gonna woo if I'm gone? Like, yeah, he wouldn't retire for fucking years.
Cut it short. Like, he says he's ready. He's, you know, and it's all right, but it feels very long, like this segment. But we go from something as reasonable as, you know, Flair talking about how ready he is for his possible retirement match to something very, very strange again. It's what was originally meant to be Awesome Kong, nothing to, you know, be confused with an Awesome Kong who works in TNA, with his good buddy King Kong. Again, not a gorilla, so I'm not really sure what's going on. Against the Shockmaster.
Yeah.
The Shockmaster comes down to the ring with a builder's helmet on.
Yeah, it's like he's a fucking electrician. Like, he's a Sparky. He's just come off the building site, bruv. That's it. He's a Sparky.
The Kongs, as I'm going to call them, double team the Shockmaster before the bell, like, before the match even begins. But then, and the commentators pick this up, they realise that King Kong is in the match and Awesome is at ringside.
Yeah.
And the old switcheroo before time. And the match is not awesome, slightest, because we do get a flying crossbody sort of from the Shockmaster, and it's got to be possibly the world's greatest body slam, because he beats King Kong with it.
Oh, it was
body slam.
It was a great body slam. I mean, we'll tell the viewers, if you're a wrestling fan and you don't know about the Shockmaster,
look it up.
Then, well, we don't know what to tell you. But he's fallen on his ass.
Yeah.
It was who would previously have been Tugboat, previously Typhoon, and now he's grown a moustache.
Well, couldn't he? He could have been Sheik Tugboat.
He could have been Sheik Tugboat. He's grown a moustache. He's now donned a fucking builder's helmet, and I swear he had like a toolbox or a lunchbox, bro, as well. Like a little, like he was literally off the build. That's what the Shockmaster was. He was an electrician. He worked at the power station or something. Unbelievable gimmick.
We've got to skip over this match because
it was a squash match.
It was a squash on the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, between three of the biggest dudes you'll ever see.
Yeah, these guys are all pretty big guys. So the slam was pretty big. I mean,
yeah,
it's just there was no build to it. Jesse and Tony are explaining that Davey Boy Smith is being replaced tonight in his match with Rick Rude for the WCW International Heavyweight title.
Yes.
He's been replaced by The Boss, or Ray Traylor, or the Big Boss Man, as he was previously known. I looked this up, and because I wanted to know why Davey wasn't making the show. In a disputed claim, it said he was fired. He said he quit. The main thing is that Davey had an agreement with Bill Watts before Bill Watts was fired, that he was allowed to work indies, on his nights off, which was a common theme for a lot of WCW wrestlers working under Bill Watts. It seems pretty fair enough, a bit more work, a few more quid in the pocket. And the other part of the deal was that Davey would make more money per night on the European tours, purely because he was the main draw. I'm not arguing with that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
He was clearly a draw in Europe. Absolutely.
But when Watts was fired, WCW went back on those agreements, promises, whatever you want to call them. Davey wouldn't back down on it. And the last straw was that Davey went to work for Jim the Anvil on an indie show in Florida, and WCW demanded 60% of his money from that show. So Davey stopped turning up to house shows, which, I mean, it's a weird argument to be a part of, I guess. Again, Davey said he quit. WCW said they fired him. It's probably a case of you can't fire me because I quit.
Yeah, that's right.
About right.
But
what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, this is tantamount to what was going on behind the scenes. This was a weird time. This is a very strange time in WCW because you had lots of stuff going on in the background. They were trying to streamline it, trying to make a little bit more money, trying to push it forward a little bit more. The executive producer on this was Eric Bischoff.
Right.
The producer was
senior producer Virgil Runnels. Yeah.
Virgil Runnels, yeah. And he had like quite a big supporting team, because you can see in the credits, supporting for Mr. Runnels, and there was a few names on there as well. So it was a time where there was a lot of different, because Bill Watts obviously had a different way of doing things. There was people even before Bill Watts, we're talking like 1991. There was a few between 1989 and 1999. That's right. Hurd, you had Jim. So you got, but it was WCW had gone through so many changes. It was still changing, and they've brought Bischoff in, and Luger at this time was in WWF.
Yeah, Luger was 93. So he's about a month away from jointly winning the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and then he didn't. It wasn't long. 95. He would be in WCW to try and boost up his career, because I think the Bulldog would then, after this, he would go to WWF, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would
for a short time.
WWF, I think around about the summertime of '94.
Yeah, they put them together, didn't they, as some kind of
Allied powers.
The Allied powers. We've spoke about that before, where they kept on.
They do wrestle at WrestleMania 11. Which is one of our earlier shows that we covered.
That's right.
If you get time, go and show that episode some love, because it's one of our more fun ones, because we talk a lot about like Luger and Davey and Bam Bam Bigelow and stuff.
Yeah, LT.
Yeah, good old LT. And
yeah, man, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Greatest babyface that ever lived. The limo has arrived at the arena. Mean Gene and Ric Flair go their separate ways. Doug Dillinger sort of ushers Ric Flair in. Doug Dillinger, world's worst security man.
They talk about Jesse Ventura talks about Ric Flair being more popular than Bill Clinton, and he said he's got a lot more money than Bill Clinton has for now. And obviously at this time Bill Clinton was the president, so he's saying in Charlotte, Ric Flair's more popular than the president, and I can fucking believe it, man.
Yeah, that. Don't doubt it for a second.
True statement.
We go from weird to wonderful, because our television title is on the line, and it's Ricky Steamboat in his full dragon gear against Lord Steven Regal, the biggest babyface, of the night for me. Yeah, Blackpool's finest.
Blackpool's finest, dude. One of my favourite wrestlers of all time.
He is with Sir William. And even though they say that Ricky Steamboat's, from North Carolina, I think it's just to, take the shine away from the crowd who clearly love Regal.
That's right. They're saying he's number one. They keep waving their middle fingers up. Number one.
Oh yeah, that's just North Carolina just showing some love.
That's right.
Jesse Ventura notes how subtle some of the moves Regal does are, and even at one point makes a quick nod to production that they're missing it.
Yeah.
Which, is annoying for us, but thank God someone's there to actually tell them and call them out on it. And here's my problem with this match, because it is a good match. It's really good wrestling. Regal and Steamboat were always going to put on a decent show. They quickly remind us that it's only a 15-minute time limit.
Yeah.
And then they constantly remind us.
It's really annoying because, it should have been, you should be just watching the match. You've got two great wrestlers. And I like I say, we've said this before. I'll say it again. We said it in a different context before, but British wrestling is a different animal.
Yeah.
To if you're looking, in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and maybe even the early 90s, it was a different animal. I posted a match on Twitter, on our Twitter, which is @ChatGrapplePops, if you want to check us out on Twitter. And it was an old British wrestling match from World of Sport on Saturday afternoon, and it was a guy called Brian Glover, okay, and he was wrestling under his wrestling name, and it was him, and it was two guys that are literally like they were tough guys. They were really, really tough guys. But what the British wrestling and the European wrestling was, it was a completely different animal to what the wrestling, the kind of catch as catch can kind of style. It was very technical. It had a lot of, like he was saying, a lot more subtle moves going on.
Yeah.
It was completely different. And it was something, when you've got a wrestler like Lord Steven Regal and you're watching it, you like say the fact that they were missing all the moves that he was doing was really, it was terrible, really, because he did this one move, like I say, where he put his foot on his arm so then he could jump over him and then grab the arm for the arm ringer, and it's little things, little technical things like that in British wrestling that is just it was completely different. This match, it was Les Kellett versus Leon Arras. Okay, so Les Kellett at this time, it's on our Twitter, guys. Go and check it out. But this is like, it epitomizes what British wrestling was in the 70s and the 80s, right? This was a bit of a comedy match, but it was very, very technical still. There was a lot of technical moves going on. There was a lot of comedy, but Les Kellett was 60 years old in this match. And Brian Glover is the bloody, he was the voice of the Tetley Tea guy. The guy in the Tetley Tea adverts.
Yeah.
So he also did a bread advert. It was Nout taken out. What was that bread? Hovis. And it was like, yeah, bread with Nout taken out. But that was Brian Glover. But his wrestling name was Leon Arras. So any of our American friends that watch this, go and check out World of Sport Wrestling, Les Kellett versus Leon Arras. And I'll tell you what, that is, we're just on this point here of Lord Steven Regal, because Lord Steven Regal was wrestling on World of Sport. He was there back in them days. He'd done the rounds, and he was there here under the big lights of WCW, and he never lost it. I don't think Lord Steven Regal ever lost that technical kind of. He always had those moves that was a shout out to British wrestling, always.
Sticking with British wrestling for just a second, did you see the tweet that our good friend Dave Meltzer put out, trying to play down that Big Daddy was not a mainstream star?
I mean,
a man that played considering in the 80s, he was in front of television crowds of 10 million plus.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, Meltzer's his mind has melted. I think it's some of the stuff he says, there was no rationale to it at all. He's talking out of his arse, you know what I mean? As we say, he's talking out of his fucking arse. It's Big Daddy. All right, people might not. Big Daddy wasn't like one of these wrestlers like your rollerball. You know, it wasn't your rollerball Roccos. Shout out to rollerball Rocco. He wasn't one of your technical wrestlers, yeah. But him and Giant Haystacks, they were a draw, bro. They were like, you know, millions of people, like you say, watching glued to the TV screens on a weekend. It's like, for his time and place, he was a draw. He was the draw, you know. Shirley Crabtree.
He tried to say that because he didn't have, you know, this, you know, so many commercials and all this, like on TV, he wasn't a big star. Like, you know, we only had one channel that had commercials in the 80s.
Right. He doesn't know. This is the thing, but he's commenting on shit that he has no fucking idea about.
Yeah.
Like the crowds that would gather around when Big Daddy was around, you know, it was, you know, and Giant Haystacks, aka Loch Ness, you know, who would end up in WCW a little bit later on. You know, there were big draws, man. You know, shout out to British wrestling. I fucking love British wrestling. I get lost. Sometimes I get lost in YouTube. Sometimes just keep watching these matches, and you can see, dude, the heat was there. It was real. Kayfabe was a thing, dude, in British wrestling. You would have, even in that match, Les Kellett versus Leon Harris, yeah? You've got an old lady hitting someone as they're rolled out of the ring, but then you're getting her helping someone up. You know, these are old ladies that would just, they would live it, dude. It wasn't just your smart marks that were watching it. You know what I mean? This was family entertainment.
This is mainstream, yeah. Like,
yeah, it was. The Queen used to watch it, bro. The Queen used to watch World of Sport. Fuck's sake. Fucking Meltzer.
Back to Steamboat and Regal. I'm already wishing they've had more time here. It's technical, it's excellent. Obviously, you know, there was one bit where they clearly didn't really pay much attention to what they were talking about. They said
the
that
Boxing
Regal
Day thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said that it was a big day for Regal. They were trying to explain what Boxing Day was. You know, but bearing in mind this show was on the 27th of December, Boxing Day is the 26th.
Yeah. Because they were trying to explain that in England on Boxing Day, people used to settle their differences out in the street the day after Christmas Day. Jesse Ventura, I was pissing myself thinking, bro, like fair play to try and sell it, man. But fucking hell, it was the day before.
You're telling me you've not seen outside your window, like on Boxing Day, like some of your neighbours just throwing punches at each other?
I've got to settle it with my neighbour because he keeps moving my dustbin on a Thursday. So we're going to settle it on Boxing Day.
You could sell that one on pay-per-view. Still probably do more than some companies.
Oh, ouch. Also, you've got Sir William, who, for people that don't know, was actually Bill Dundee, weren't it?
Yeah, Bill Dundee, yeah.
You know, who in his own right, you know, was a wrestler many years before, but I think he was he was like Scottish born, but he was Australian, was he?
He played the part well.
Yeah, you know, but he did have that English accent. You can hear him shout to someone in the crowd, "Shut up, you four-eyed little brat."
Yeah,
and
the fans in that area it really sort of popped to it as well.
It was really good, man. Really, I enjoyed it. It was
as expected. It does go to a time limit draw. Regal does retain his title. The fans go wild. It's the biggest pop of the night for sure. They love Regal. I kid. Yeah, Regal does retain, and they move quickly on. Like I said, it's quite a shame that it only does 15 minutes because you could have had another 10, 15 minutes on top of that to really like hammer it home, but they don't. They just move on to the next match pretty like straight away, which is these two guys. Now we spoke about these two before, Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce.
Yeah,
we were sort of wondering how they'd fare against the Godwins, but they don't take on the Godwins here. They take on Cactus Jack and Max Payne.
Yeah,
and, I mean, two things. one, Slazenger and Pierce's music, it's amazingly, straight out of a Western.
It's good.
And the pop that Cactus gets.
Yeah.
When he pokes his head through the curtain. He's really over with this North Carolina crowd.
I think because he's got his history with the funk.
I don't know if he's done anything with funk yet in '93. I mean, he's obviously worked with Vader.
Yeah.
And
no, I swear he would have done. He would have done stuff with funk already. Maybe on.
He hasn't done his ECW stint yet. That comes up.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
But so, no, Cactus. He does get a big pop. He does get a nice pop.
There's a double clothesline that almost takes Tex Slazenger's head off. It was a little bit high, and it almost wiped him out.
It's weird because Cactus actually hurts himself quite badly with a backdrop onto the outside
that's
as
my
well.
next point. Yeah, Max Payne. It's almost like it's almost quite innovative actually. The backdrop from Max Payne on Cactus onto Tex or Shanghai, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's a great landing.
Yeah.
Max Payne puts again Tex or Slazenger.
Yeah, because Tex. Yeah, Shanghai is Henry Godwin, isn't it? Shanghai is the one with a mask.
What was it called? The Painmaker.
The Painmaker.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good name. I like it. And it's another fun. If this one's all right, it's a double arm DDT from Cactus to win it. But all four guys got their stuff in. Everyone had their working boots on. I quite liked it.
Yeah, it was good. It was an entertaining match. I enjoyed it, but I'm also a fan of Max Payne. I thought it was great. Like we've spoken about him before, how they didn't really use him right when he had the guitar, you know, and he would come in because he could actually legitimately play the guitar. You know, it was, but he would be in WWE for a little bit. He went to WWF for a very short time.
Man Mountain Rock.
You know, and I think we've also spoken about that on here because he was on a WrestleMania weekend playing the guitar with like a tie-dye T-shirt. Mountain Rock. We spoke about that in one of our previous episodes.
What a terrible name that is.
Awful. But the thing is, I think even Mick Foley said to Vince and everyone in the creative, and even Max Payne said, "Look, let me come in as Max Payne." He said, let me come in as Max Payne. He's like, you know, that's who I am. That's who I've been. You know, people kind of know me as that. And Max Payne was actually creating his own T-shirts and wearing them. He was wearing one here. It's like a skull, with a mohawk and that.
Yeah. Mean Gene interviews NASCAR driver Kyle Petty. There are some boos in the crowd for this. He's obviously.
I mean, I don't know who Kyle is.
Son. Richard Petty was a famous NASCAR driver who had just retired at that time or around that time. They do talk about retirement. It's a pretty dead interview. And then we get to our US title match, which so disappointing.
I knew you were going to say that because I was disappointed.
What a flop this is. It's a 2 out of 3 falls match. It's Stunning Steve Austin, who is the challenger with Colonel Rob Parker, the sweatiest man in wrestling. And he takes on Dustin Rhodes, who's champion, the US champion. I've got a take here, and I've got to say it. As good as these two are at this point in '93, I do feel a little shortchanged that these two were given a half an hour time limit and Regal and Steamboat were only given 15.
Especially when you watch this match and you see this match. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't about, you know.
It does not meet expectations.
It doesn't, man. I mean, You've got Stunning Steve Austin, as I was doing the old Hollywood blonde camera thing. You know, Colonel Parker had come in and split up the Hollywood blondes. So, you know, Stone Cold or Stunning Steve had gone, Brian Pillman had gone their own ways. this should have been better. This really
sounds better.
You know, it's a slow start. Austin's healing it up, you know, and the commentary team say these are two men that will really run WCW in the next decade, which was quite laughable because by '96 they'd both be in WWF.
They'd both gone. Yeah, I did laugh at that because, devil's advocate. What if they kept them?
But this is, they
probably wouldn't have given them the character sort of dimension. So
it's very strange.
It's almost too.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I say, there's all these what ifs. I mean, WCW let go of some huge stars.
Yeah.
But so did WWF let go of some stars that actually went and made it huge elsewhere. But I mean, like you say, WCW, stunning Steve Austin, when he goes to WWF, he was nothing like, I mean, if you took the two characters, you had a picture of stunning Steve one side, you have a picture of Stone Cold Steve Austin. You'd think it was a different guy.
I suppose some of that is, credit to, shout out to Paul Heyman because he let Steve let Steve be Steve in ECW for the short amount of time he was there. But yeah, this match, apart from Austin going flying into the front row,
that was great,
which was pretty good. Slow burn, I'm not loving it, and we get a screwy first fall finish. Something that we have to talk about because they don't follow their own rules half the time.
No.
Dustin throws Austin into Colonel Parker. Austin ends up going over the top rope. Dustin gets a DQ in the first fall.
Yeah.
He then jumps out the ring and pushes Austin into the ring post. The cameraman decides that he's going to go close up on Austin, and you can see exactly what Austin's up to.
Yeah.
Austin is he is blading.
Yeah.
And
it is.
The camera goes close up, and I can't believe it. Jesus, man, what a mistake that was.
It's weird because he bleeds like a stuck pig, as they say. Yeah. He's literally pissing blood all over the place. We have this issue with Colonel Parker going out to the back as well. Was that a legitimate injury, do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It was weird why he would disappear, but the lights go out.
At the start of the second fall, we start losing light. And I mean, I was sort of hoping that, Kane or The Undertaker would turn up at this point because the match was so dead.
I thought something was going to happen like that. Yeah. I thought that someone was going to get involved. Maybe the Halloween Phantom was going to turn up or,
But no, the lights thing seemed to just be a production error or something, or they've maybe lost a bit of power, get the generator going. And this is mad because Dustin goes, gets Austin in the corner, goes up to second rope, starts laying in a couple of punches. Austin then rolls him up, grabs the tights, and wins the second fall, and he's the new US champion.
It was a terrible match for what it should have been. And like you say, they could have given the time to Steamboat and Regal.
My other problem with this is, what was the point of the blade job?
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was out of nowhere. Like you say, mate, I've got nothing to say about that. It was
only good thing about this match was the cheers when Austin won the match. Because there was clearly some Austin fans in the crowd. But I was really baffled as to why they bothered blading on this. Like, what was the point?
They'd had a couple of 2 out of 3 falls matches, though, hadn't they? Dustin and Steve.
Yeah. And they part of the hotline poll for the night.
A question, yeah.
Yeah, it was a question: should championship matches be 2 out of 3 falls? Based on that, no, it shouldn't.
No, it should 100% no.
Jesse was against it as well. I think Tony Schiavone said, he'd prefer them if they were 2 out of 3 falls, but
Jesse said no.
Yeah.
You win one, you win it. That's it.
Jesse was right.
He was.
WCW International Heavyweight title is next. Michael Buffer is in the ring. He's going to be announcing the next 3 matches because they're all big main events, apparently. Now, this is a weird one because it's the WCW International Heavyweight Championship. It used to be the NWA World title. They'd split from the NWA, but they kept the big gold belt. So they're calling Ravishing Rick Rude World Champion. But he's not recognised as champion now. Like, why is he not recognised as world champion?
In the words of Ravishing Rick Rude, shut your mouths, open your eyes, and show some respect to the undisputed world champion.
Yeah. Here's where we get a real candidate for our ICO Pro Award. Because once that robe comes off, sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
He is stacked and jacked.
Yeah, and I've got it down here. So much heat, ICO Pro winner.
Yeah.
That's what I've got. So much heat, ICO Pro winner. So if you're all right with giving it to Rude,
of course.
I would probably say that Rick Rude was the ICO Pro winner for this week.
Rick wins it, but there was one guy who was pretty close.
Yes, there is.
And he's coming up.
Yeah.
Rude is, Jack, he's been called a world champion. I'm not sure what's going on and why they're not officially recognizing him as a champion.
So now he's not recognized to have ever held that championship?
No.
Is it because they say that he kind of stole it off Flair? There was a, the week when he won it,
because it was from Flair at Full Brawl, but
at Full Brawl, yeah.
I mean, I think he's a legit world champion. He's wearing that belt.
100%, bro.
Material. He should have been champion in WWF, but
he should have been. I mean, who would have made a better heel champion than Ravishing Rick Rude?
Well, he never worked with Hogan. That was the crazy thing. He worked with Warrior, but I got a sneaky feeling that Hogan didn't want to work with Rude because he knew that Rude could outstrip him.
100%.
He could steal a lot of the limelight.
And Hogan don't like that, brother.
Oh, he would have been crying off to Jack Tunney in a minute.
I'll tell you another bit of memorabilia that I've picked up. Actually, I bought it. I talk a lot of shit about Hulk Hogan, okay, but I love my movie posters, right? And you've seen my Thunder in Paradise poster that I've got. Well, I've actually just picked up another movie poster, a full-size one, and it is for Mr. Nanny. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, dude, it is the most incredible movie poster you've ever seen in your life. Original 1990s movie poster of Mr. Nanny. Nice. Incredible, dude.
That is beautiful. That is.
When it's here and when it gets framed by our lovely friends at treeoflifeframing.com, when it gets framed, I will show you on the podcast.
So that's a sweet hoodie you've got on there, Chris. Who printed that?
Oh, that would be treeoflifeframing.com when our Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast hoodie.
Good people.
Yeah, man.
Back to the boss. His Big Boss Man. It's Ray Traylor. They even call him, like, Jesse slips up and calls him Big Boss Man.
He's got a security guard top on, though, man. It says security.
It does say security. He is being announced as being from, Cobb County lockup.
Jail. Yeah, and a correctional facility. But it's like, instead, he's like Craig and Day, like top flight security in Next Friday. It's like top flight. You know what I mean?
And that's our crazy reference for the night. Craig and Day.
Craig and Day, top flight security, motherfucker.
Boss spits in a heelish move, really spits at Rick Rude, which, I mean, that wouldn't fly today in COVID, but
no,
he got arrested.
But the boss man's got the boss has got big pops, man, when he comes out.
He does, yeah. He's
real big pops.
I mean, they must remember him from his killer feud with Nails just the year before.
100%. Boss man.
Yeah. The backdrop that Boss hits Rude with, the airtime that Rude has.
Proper.
Incredible.
Yeah.
For me, again, this match is really short.
It
has
really
a rest hold.
Yeah, and it's got a huge rest hold. I mean, it was really. We both love Ravishing Rick Rude. I would say, as wrestlers go, as well, you can't get much better than Ravishing Rick Rude. He epitomizes what a heel wrestler should be. Him and Bobby Heenan together, the Heenan family, was just fucking incredible. Like,
hell of a team.
Hell of a team. You've got, Mr. Perfect as well. Mr. Perfect, Ravishing Rick Rude, they epitomize heel wrestlers. And, there's a great spot here where Rude is like on the ropes and he's like hanging upside down on the ropes and he keeps popping up, getting hit, popping back down, popping back up, and it's like this match, it should have been more, because it should have been more. It was really disappointing, and it was such a fucking weak finish as well. It was just a really
I don't know.
ending.
We could call it a weak finish, but I know someone that would say it was one of the greatest finishes of all time.
So do I.
So after the rest hold / bear hug, Bossman goes for his signature, like what's it called, where he just sits on them while they're laying across the ropes.
I would say it's just I have no idea.
Yeah, he tries that. Rude moves. Bossman sort of crotches himself a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we have the finish. And like I said, that we know one guy who would call it the greatest move in hit wrestling history. It was created by this man, apparently. Old Sunset Skip. It is a sunset flip. And free count.
Sunset Skip, by the way, is bringing back his wrestling quizzes on Facebook, dude.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so we might have to get involved on that. Show some love to Sunset Skip. He trained us as well, didn't he? We were trained by the Skipster.
By the Skipster, yeah. But obviously we have travelled many a mile to learn under the great guys of Limo Rickshaw, but Skip was his trusted assistant. So
absolutely, man. We've trained under two of the greats, mate.
Two of the best.
Limo Rickshaw and Sunset Skip. Shout out to you guys.
I will give Rick, whoever did Rick Rude's music credit. That's his best song for sure. It's really good work. The commentary booth then plugs Super Brawl in February. It's a double Thunder Cage or something. Like I saw that on the poster. It sounds to me like it's going to have more than one screen on it. So I'm not really relishing watching that.
Weren't sold, nah.
As long as it's not the TNA 6 screens of chaos.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
You loved it.
Tag team titles are next. Michael Buffer's back in the ring. This is a team and a half. Sting and Road Warrior Hawk. Road Warrior Hawk does finish second, unfortunately, in our ICO Pro Award.
Yeah, I've got in my notes as well, Road Warrior Hawk, ICO Pro. I've got him down as second.
And they are taking on the tag team champions, the Nasty Boys, who are with Missy Hyatt. And
the Riot Missy Hyatt.
There's a tinge of malice when Tony Schiavone just says she's nasty.
I've got that written down here as well. Maybe he had a slight maybe I had a slight dealing with her in the dressing room. He's like, oh, she's nasty. Maybe he witnessed some shit.
Holy shit, there's a lot of stalling in this.
This match for me, right, is I gave up, dude, halfway through this match. I gave up.
It was a little bit, it looked like it was done backwards. It was done like the wrong way round.
I gave up.
Purely because Nasty Boys were doing the selling. Nasty Boys were doing all the selling. There was no real heat on it. It was like the only reason they got any heat was because Hawk hit the post. Like there was no, like the Nasties had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, Missy Hyatt in this as well. Like she's really playing the part of being annoying because she's really
good.
She's really fucking annoying, and she was really, really good.
She's even better because after the Nasty Boys finally start getting some heat, what did the Five Fingers say to the face?
Oh, slap!
She slapped the shit out of Hawk.
Yeah, and even Jesse says, "Oh, I think you would have probably hit the deck, Tony, if that would have been you." And he says, "No, you're probably right." Like, she fucking, because she's got a whip as well.
Yeah.
And she was like, and he said, "Oh, a lot of people will pay a lot of money to get whipped by Missy Hyatt."
It's a weird, like, I mean, let's be honest, the outfit / gimmick thing was weird anyway. Like, she had this pink see-through thing on. You could see.
Yeah, you could see the underwear.
And she had the whip going round. But yeah,
Can we take a moment of silence for a terrible body slam by Knobs on Hawk? Bro. But then he gives him a receipt.
It gets worse, yeah.
It does get. He gives him a receipt later on in the match, but literally like a body slam. He picks him up and then just gets halfway and just goes, "Nah, fuck it." Just throws him on the floor. Like, it was so bad.
The ref misses the hot tag.
Yep.
Real standard stuff. Good old tag.
Standard.
One of the nasty ones, can't remember which one, gets his knees up on a big splash from Sting.
Yeah.
And then one of them throws Sting over the top rope and there's no DQ.
Yeah.
Don't know why that annoys me so much.
It's annoying. There's some botched fucking try to roll out of the way of stuff as well that was just awful.
Sting doesn't move quick enough or doesn't quite time it. But there's a reason for that, because Sags and Knobs are blown up to fuck.
Oh, dude, I've got that as well. Nasties are blown up. They are. And Sags, he disappears for about 5 minutes. And when he comes back, he can't even stand up. He comes in, does like an elbow drop thing, goes for a pin, and then gets back out again. He does that about 3 times.
They are absolutely I'm not sure whether it's because Hawk's laying in the shots but and this is what I blame on this second body slam. The one, like, you spoke about the one earlier, because Knobs sandbags the hell out of a body slam when Hawk tries to get him up. But this is where things get a little murky. Sting plants a kiss on Missy, unwanted.
#me too.
Yeah. Knobs accidentally knocks her off the apron, and this is where it gets fucked up, because they go up for the Doomsday device, and Hawk clotheslines Knobs, and he lands on his fucking neck.
It's terrible, man. It looks so painful. Like,
I will try and post that for anyone, like, because what a fucking landing that is.
No, actually, do post that, dude, if you can get that bit of footage, because that Doomsday device is, I mean, he does land on his head.
That could end the career. That was so bad.
Because ain't they supposed to like push their legs back a little bit at least and kind of push him to flip him over? But they were like, "Nah, fuck that. We're not doing it."
Well, I'm guessing Sting probably never done it.
Yeah. And, I mean, was there any legitimate heat between the Nasties and Sting and Hawk at any time? Do you think? Because
I remember there being heat with Flair and the Nasty Boys, because Flair called them slobs and said they were they never worked out and stuff like that. And I mean, it could be true here, because they are, like, definitely towards the end of this, they're struggling.
Dude, I mean, like I say, I'm not a fan of the Nasty Boys. I don't think they could work for shit. And when they're actually in a wrestling match like this, 10 minutes in, they're blown up. They can hardly stand.
Well, yeah, I mean, you only have to look at their stuff with Public Enemy. It only goes like 10 minutes,
and it's just brawling.
Yeah,
it's literally just brawling. No wrestling.
Missy comes into the ring and grabs Sting a little bit, and the ref calls for the DQ. It's like, it's not even DQ worthy.
Yeah, she just comes in and just breaks the count or whatever. But
it's another screwy finish. It's not great.
Hokey, man.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that, there was a lot of positives and stuff in this match. There was some bits that I quite enjoyed.
I know, man. I weren't too sold on this. I thought it was just the whole match was messy as shit.
I think Missy was pretty good.
Missy was great during this. She's like, and it's not, before anyone just says it, it's not her just leaning on the side of the ring. leaning in. But she, she's getting in the face of people when they're in the ring and stuff. She's like, LOD is history. She was
it's annoying, isn't it?
It was so annoying, but it was so good because she had legitimate heat. Like, she was legitimately, hateable, basically. She was annoying as shit. And to be fair, I've knocked Missy Hyatt in previous shows, but I have, but she was good in this. Really, really enjoyed enjoyed her.
I mean, let's be honest, beforehand, like in those other shows, she was doing a bit of backstage interviewing, and pretty sure, was it Stan Hansen threw her out of a locker room and stuff, and she's
Stan Hansen spanking her, yeah.
Yeah, like, she's actually playing a decent part on a show here.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, she carried herself really well.
She carried the team. We're going to get heat with the nasties now.
Mean Gene is up next. And I honestly thought he was going to interview someone, but he just promotes the hotline for a couple of seconds.
It's funny, yeah. It's literally, and he mocks Jesse Ventura in a suit and says, he was wearing something like Brooks Brothers suit. And then Jesse turns around and goes, "What does it say inside my suit, Tony?" He says, "Givenchy." He says, "Yeah, it doesn't say Brooks Brothers, does it?"
That was good. Michael Buffer is back in the ring. He's obviously earning his money tonight. Jeez.
Yeah.
Because it is world title time. It is the main event. It's Vader with Harley Race. Vader is your champion, taking on Ric Flair, and what an ovation for Rick.
Oh, it was.
Now this isn't a pop. This is a prolonged ovation.
It's crazy.
And it is Ric Flair in his hometown, home city, whatever.
I've just got Flair in purple in Charlotte. What a pop! Woos, just woos.
I mean, if he had Peach on, I'm sure you would have been,
Oh, dude,
all over.
Flair in Peach is fucking good for me. But because we had the conversation, didn't we? We were talking about either doing the first Starrcade or this one.
Yeah.
It was going to be 83 or 93, and in 83 it was Flair versus Harley Race for the title. And now you've got, 10 years later, you've got Harley Race in the corner of Vader, who's the champ, and you've got Ric Flair, whose career's on the line. He's been written in. I mean, who else really? There was no one else really that could have taken this spot in the main event, was there really?
Just Sting,
looking at it.
I think.
Sting.
Yeah, probably just Sting. Unless they shelled out and got someone else in, because it is Starrcade, you couldn't stick the boss in there. I'm sorry, love the Boss Man, Ray Traylor and that, but
yeah,
it wouldn't have worked. I mean, the only other thing they could have done was unified and stuck Rude in there, but it's two heels in your main event. It doesn't work.
No, that's right. It's
again, who probably could have turned Rude face. I mean, enough people cheered for him.
Oh, I mean, I cheer Rude every single time. I still love, and we're going to give him a shout out again. Max, not the Hulk Hogan. He is a lover of Flair, and he, talks about the Pennsylvania piss ants. I still love that to this day. He goes,
this is Max, not the Hulk Hogan, the one that you brutally injured in a wrestling match. Yeah,
that's right.
Just so we're clear,
damaged him irreparably
with an incredible spinning back kick. This is what I've been told. This is from the people that were there.
That's right.
Chris had laid up a beautiful spinning back kick, and it was just too much for Max to handle.
It was. You're trying to build the heat for that rematch, bro.
I can't wait.
For the COVID championships.
Rick lays in a couple. No, this is quite funny as well, because this is again down to bad production. Rick lays in a couple of chops. The camera gets in really close, and you hear Rick say, "Push me," to Vader.
Yes, there's a couple of moments where you hear them talking in this match. There is a couple of moments, and it's for me again. This is it's another weird match, bro, because Vader is dominating, so it's one of them ones where I think the whole build-up and everything, you can kind of see what the result's going to be before the match finishes.
Yeah, of course.
If you know what I mean. And it was a bit disappointing because, I mean, Flair takes a couple of legitimate stiff shots as well in this.
Well,
I think he gets a tooth knocked out, doesn't he?
He gets a busted mouth, yeah, which there is clearly the odd, potato rough shot in there.
Yeah.
And I think it was Harley Race that I saw an interview of Harley Race like years back, which is something that sticks in your mind, saying that, he said, Leon was being an asshole.
Right. Yeah.
And, he was egging Flair on, and Race said to Flair, you got to fight back. You got to hit him back.
Yeah.
And Flair eventually starts hitting him back.
Yeah. Because I know there was one clothesline that Vader give Flair, and it was literally like, instead of a clothesline on the shoulders, he literally just got him straight in the mush and just fucking knocked him out. He literally nearly knocked all his teeth out.
And Vader ends up getting a cut above his eye, which is not a blading job.
No, that's hard way, bro. That's fucking.
Ric Flair goes to the top rope 3 times and it works. Like, that's not something you see every day.
Right.
There's a nice superplex from Vader. I quite like that.
Yeah, that was good.
Superplex, yeah. Right.
And it took its toll on both men as well, which was good. I thought it was quite funny as well when Vader turns around to Flair and he's like, "Chump, you ain't got nothing."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, he called him Chump. He's like, "Chump, you ain't got nothing." And it's good because Harley Race as well is good. I mean, Harley Race is one of the greatest to ever do it as well, man. There's a legend at ringside, and he's like, "This is what you asked for, Flair. You asked for this, Flair."
The fans start to pop when Flair starts to really chop Vader down with his punches and his chops. And I mean, this is a rabid crowd now. They are 100% behind Flair. Flair gets one of those plastic chairs and starts to soften up Vader's leg, which obviously is, going to try and build up to a figure 4. And the crowd are into it. Flair's technically cheating, and the fans are just, they love every second of it.
Because it's that whole story of, and because the thing is, Flair was cheating quite a bit through this as well, because, the fists, the closed fist, he was literally like, he was going in, and the referee didn't really have none of, he let it get away with it. But yeah, those chairs are like the old ones you used to have at school, those plastic molded chairs with the metal legs, and he hits
over the head with one as well, doesn't he?
He whacks him on the head with one. I think he follows through with it as well on the headshot. But yeah, he tries to work the knee and get him in the figure 4. But
Vader does go for a Vader bomb. He misses. Flair does put him in the figure 4. Would you have ended it there?
Possibly. I think they still had a bit of time to stretch out on the show.
Yeah, they did, because Vader does go up for a moonsault. Like, it's always been impressive, him going up for a moonsault, especially that one in '97. I think it was, where he landed on his feet.
But yeah, I mean, before that Vader salt as well, dude, Vader was laying in some big elbows to the face of Flair when he was on the floor. Yeah. And I noticed it. He was fucking laying, like, it was like MMA, bro. Like, he was literally laying them in heavy, man. I'm like, fuck. Rick was getting battered in this match, bro.
Yeah, Vader does miss his moonsault. Flair covers him. Harley Race climbs to the top, gives him a diving headbutt, misses, hits Vader. And then this is the weird part, because it's something you only notice once you see the replay.
Yeah, some weird.
Flair runs into Vader. Vader sort of knocks him over, but again, you see this in the replay. He starts grabbing
the knee. Yeah,
but it's more subtle than anything Regal did in the match against Steamboat.
The camera completely misses it though. That's what happened the first time. Like, because I never saw it the first time. No. Because all I saw was them both hit each other and then Flair rolling him up in a really weird pin. And I'm like, why was he pinning him? If anything, like, Flair took the worst of that collision. Like, it was fucking weird.
And Flair rolls him up in a weird way. Like,
it was weird.
He rolls him up and it's a 3 count and the place goes nuts. It's, we've got a new champion, fireworks, confetti, all of that. Everyone, like Vader, just seems to disappear into the. Well, we see Vader again in a minute, but it's a big hometown win, and we got a new champion. And before we finish, because we're not signing off just yet, Flair pokes his head back out because he just seems to go to the back. He pokes his head back out for a little bit of extra celebration. We're sent over to Eric Bischoff in one of the, I think it's obviously the heel locker room, and Vader is just smashing the place up.
And dude, but why is there plastic all around the sides of the dressing room?
I'm not sure. That was a weird one.
It was weird, dude. It was like they were going to have like some fucking Bukkake video film there or something. It's like, what the fuck was that about? Like, what? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure where to go from there.
It's like, but you saw it. It's like, it's literally like the whole inside of the locker room is covered with like clear plastic. Like something's going to happen. It's weird. Like,
they're worried about spillages.
It's crazy, man. Like, I really wondered, like, why that was. It really took me aback. I'm like, fucking what? Why?
So we don't get an interview with Vader. He's too busy destroying the place. We cut away with Mean Gene, with the Flair family. Rick's very emotional, as ever. It's, we get a couple more baby faces in to talk with Flair, and Sting comes in and says it was amazing. He reminds everyone that he said in 1990 that he was the best champion ever. So something you do remember from Great American Bash back in 1990. Steamboat comes in and starts kissing his ass as well. And Mean Gene signs us off, and that's it.
Yeah, it was
Starrcade 93, executive producer Eric Bischoff.
That's right.
But I mean, it was a weird show. It was
weird.
We went from King of the Ring last week, which was, an absolute great diamond in the rough. That was.
It was. It was a great show.
To this very, very odd Starrcade, which had squash matches and, weird shit.
It was weird. It's like, it's one of these shows where there was a lot of stuff going behind the scenes. There was a lot of stuff that was happening there, and obviously they've still got to put on pay-per-views, and sometimes things just don't happen how they should happen, and. It was a few weird finishes. There was a few weird things going on in the matches because they're human beings, man. They're human beings. And sometimes they're just not on, and sometimes matches don't come out as you think they should. They were preparing for, excuse me. They were preparing for, I'm fucking yawning here. This is how long this week has been, man. They were edging for, it was supposed to be Vader versus Sid, so that everyone's building up for a different kind of thing going on, and then you got this whole Ric Flair angle, where he's at home and then he's in the limo with Scheme Gene, trying to pimp his hotline. So yeah, it was a really weird pay-per-view. I mean, it was still quite entertaining. It had its moments, notably Missy Hyatt, Rick Rude. It was good. It was good at times, but it was a strange one for me. It was, we still enjoy watching them, obviously, but
of course,
it wasn't the great for a 10th anniversary. It was a bit weird.
Yeah. And that's it. That's our Starrcade 1993 show in the book. Next week.
Next week,
didn't we?
We've got we've got the next 2 weeks coming up. We've got a UK-US Capitals special.
It's a combat special, yeah.
So next week, I've got the VHS here. We are doing WWF Capital Carnage, which is a live pay-per-view from the UK that was filmed in, I think it was filmed in Manchester. Was it? It says Capital
Carnage. Of course not. Got to be London.
Yeah, it's got London all over it, but knowing them, they probably did it in bloody Manchester or something.
Did it in Coventry or something like that.
Yeah, in Coventry. Yeah, the Sky Dome. Let's not. So we've got WWF Capital Carnage, and then the week after that, we've got WCW
Capital Combat.
The notorious Capital Combat with an extra special guest.
Oh, so it's a hell of a guest, that is.
Oh yeah. So we've got a good couple coming up the next couple of weeks. So it's our UK US Capital specials that we've got coming up.
And before we go, I just Chris, are you ready to remind people where they can find us?
If I can remember, I've lost my little list. So you're watching us on YouTube right now. Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast on YouTube. We are on Twitter and Instagram at Chat Grapple Pops. You can check us out there. But we're on Podbean, Spotify, Deezer, Castbox, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. We are on every single fucking platform available ever.
So there's no excuse.
There ain't no excuse, man. Follow, subscribe, like, touch the bell. And guys, we are extremely thankful for all that we've got. The most subscribers in the last week than I think we've had in any lumps up to now. So please, if it means we have to get cross with you and tell you, do it now, touch the bell. Don't wait till later. Touch the bell.
Give it a Dusty Rhodes, bionic elbow. Do what you got to do. Hit that bell. Comment, like, subscribe. Tell us if you like it. Tell us if you hate it. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us if you watched the show.
That's right.
We watched it. We know what happened. It was, sometimes hilarious, sometimes good, sometimes terrible.
That's right. And do watch these shows, because we do watch some obscure ones. We watch some really, famous ones. We watch ones that people don't really watch. Like even
ones,
this, WWF Capital Carnage. This is going to be a really good one because I'm not going to say it now, but it's got a great card, and it's just
and a UK crowd.
It's a UK crowd, so. And it's from 1999. So it's in a great era of WWF. You can imagine the stars on there. You've got Stone Cold, you've got Undertaker, Mankind, Kane, The Rock, X-Pac, New Age Outlaws, Sable. So you've got like... I'm
going to have to apologise to Brock next week, aren't I?
It's all good, man. He's fine. He's my boy. He's fine. So that's going to be a great one. But please do watch these pay-per-views because, then you can kind of get a bit more where we're coming from, and maybe you can say, oh, actually, maybe, yeah, they were right about that, or, oh, they were wrong about that, So, yeah, watch these back, man. Watch them back. We really appreciate everybody joining us on this evening. And there's not much more we can really say, is there, Joe?
That's it. We hope you've enjoyed this. We hope you all enjoy watching Survivor Series, which is, which technically tonight for us, but it's been past. So I'm hoping there'll be something fun to talk about then. Something we can bring up next week.
Talking about Survivor Series as well, our first ever episode was the first ever Survivor Series. So go back into our archive and watch episode 1, where myself and JB, we talk about the first ever Survivor Series. And like Jay was saying last week, see how far we've come or if we've got worse.
Yeah. I will end it on a bit of a, personal note. These are tough times everyone's involved in, especially in the UK and in England. It sucks. No one can see anyone. No one can do anything. No one can high-five each other. if you do get the time, if you are allowed out for a minute, before you start getting hunted down by Boris and his pals, support your local businesses. Tesco's already got too much money. Sainsbury's got too much money. They've all got loads of money. Go and support your local businesses. The little shops that are around the corner from you. Go and buy from them. They need it more. They need it more than Shell or Esso do.
That's right, man. Yeah, support your local business and support your local podcast, which is Chat Grapple and Cheap Pops Podcast. Touch our bells. Do it now. Subscribe, like, comment, and we will be back in a very short while with our next show.
We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.